Okay, so I guess we can go ahead because Laura's not gonna be here.
Okay,
Oh, but that makes three, okay.
And so you have everybody for the roll call. And so I guess the first question is approval of the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes.
Actually, before you do that, I have a question. Harry's disappeared, but maybe Greg will know. So this, in the second page of the minutes, it says that Mr. Clark mentioned the situation has been going on for 4 years. Has it been that long? It's at least 2.
yeah, I don't think it's 4 years.
I didn't think the Michigan Brewery was in business that long.
Yeah,
Are you talking
I
about
think-
how long the beer brewery?
well, the comment was the situation's been going on for 4 years. I didn't check to see when you had done the sampling originally.
Well, it would seem to me that I think the brewery has been there for at least 4 years, and as soon as it got there, the problem started.
Okay.
They've been aware of it right
I
away.
just wanted to make sure that that was, okay.
I'm not a student of the history. of
Okay,
breweries.
so, John has moved to approve the minutes. We need a second.
Second,
Dave seconds, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So the minutes are approved. I assume there's no consultant reports, changes to sewer use list, attorney report. So we're on to the public works director report, and you can tell me if we have any of the others.
Okay, let's see. Let's start with the EB outfall dye study. We have the EB shorten the outfall. That work has been completed. And part of their requirements with DEP is to conduct a dye study, to make sure that modeling is correct. It was originally scheduled for September 7th, but I guess they had some supply chain issues actually getting the dye to do that. So it's now rescheduled for October 10th.
oh, what is this?
The EB dye study to check that the shortened outfall, we're in the new, the director's report.
Okay. That's,
So it's October 10th.
Under personnel, we did offer the mechanic position to an applicant, but he declined, so we're back out on the street again.
what is it? I still don't I don't understand the whole national situation.
None of us do.
And we still have not
That's
gotten,
even scarier.
well, we've gotten some applicants who've not gotten anybody that's qualified for the operations.
Yeah. Our qualifications have not tightened any of what we've been at, haven't they?
Yeah, no, it's a requirement from the state what they need to be. That's all I have.
I thought you were gonna say a word about the rate study.
I was gonna go that over on the beer.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
Go through all that. I have a few items into that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so I guess we're on to the facility report. Harry, you wanna speak to that?
So, sure, yep, you all have a copy of it. You can see where you meet our permit. Yeah, we still have the open mechanic position. I know Greg said the operations supervisor is vacant. I think that's it for last month. Do you guys have any questions on that August report? If not, I mean, I just want to make you aware that at the last storm, we did have a bypass of treated effluent. It was about it was a little over 1 million gallons, like 1.1 gallon bypass. The had an electrical issue in the effluent pump station, so that 3 of the 4 pumps weren't working. So we had 1 pump working, but whatever that couldn't pump out ended up bypassing to Mumford Cove. It was fully treated. There was no, it wasn't like a raw sewage bypass. Everything was reported DEP. There was no issues. You know, they took the information, haven't heard anything back from them. But I just wanted to let you know that happened in case anybody asks you any questions.
So just to help me understand, so, I guess I had immediately assumed this was raw sewage, but you're saying it's not, it was treated. So where does this bypass occur?
So it occurs at the end of the plant. But so we have that effluent pump station that pumps the treated water to the Thames River. And that's where the pump failures were. So at that point, the water had been fully treated and it had, its chlorine residual and was ready to go to the Thames River. We just didn't have enough pump capacity to get it there. So the Fort Hill Brook runs alongside the plant. And years ago, that actually used to be where the plant discharged to. So it just bypassed into that brook, which then leads to Mumford Cove and out to the Sound.
Okay, thank you. To me, that's, unfortunate that it occurred, but a pretty minimal event in that it was the fully treated.
Well, historically, if you get a real, gully washer of a rainstorm, you can have partially treated sewage go into the Sound. It's unfortunate. We have to report to the state and all that, but it has happened, has it not?
Well, in this case, it was a pump failure. It wasn't so much, I mean,
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
I think the storm probably precipitated the pump failure. There's electrical issue that we had that we're gonna be addressing, so that hopefully this won't happen in the future.
Yeah, but the 4 horsemen didn't appear.
Okay, thanks, Harry. And I don't have anything to report, so I think we're on to old business and update on Beard and Mystic Cheese.
Okay. After our last meeting, we did have the town attorney Eric Callahan, to draft a letter. I sent you all a copy. It's dated August 11th. Basically outlining what we agreed to, that we accepted the plans for Mystic Cheese and Beard, and that we're going to give them an additional 90 days beyond the ARPA approval date to enact their plans. So that letter did go out to both Mystic Cheese and Beard. I did check with our ARPA coordinator today. They received about 53 applications from everybody. They've gone through it. They'll be meeting with the long-term recovery committee. That committee is going to be meeting the next couple of weeks to kind of put recommendations together for the council. So go to the council by October, early November.
The subject this week?
The American Rescue Funds that the town got,
Oh,
people could apply for it. So
okay.
this committee will be meeting to review these applications, and from my understanding, this Beard and Mr. Cheese ranked pretty high.
So there is competition for this money.
Yeah, not
Not a
everybody's
lot
gonna have
to
money.
get it.
Yeah, it's a competitive, almost like a grant, if you will. So the council will probably make a decision, I'm gonna guess about mid-November. Mid to end of November, so we should know by our December meeting if they got the money or not. And then Harry and I did meet, was it 2 weeks ago, Harry? We met with Ty and Bond.
Yes,
An engineering firm, and one of their specialties is rate studies. So we had a very good conversation with them for about an hour, with a couple of their engineers and people that specialize in this. So we gave them all the background, on this issue, and then just in general on, our rates, the industrial surcharge rate. So they are reviewing that, and we should be getting something fairly soon. I haven't heard. Have you heard anything Eric, from them?
no, I haven't heard anything from them.
Okay, so we should be getting the fee and scope proposal any day now from them. We'll go ahead and get that moving. So that'll go along parallel with the ARP applications. And then Harry's crew has been out doing some additional testing. Harry, if you have those results with you.
No, we're still waiting on results from the lab. But just from looking at the sample, I mean, if it's possible to say it looked weaker than what we had seen in the past, I guess I would say that. There wasn't a large amount of solids settled into it. And it, it looked a little bit weaker than what I would have thought, what we've seen in the past.
So we have those results for the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's where we are on that. And the beer, Mr. Chiefs is really a waiting game now. For funding.
Have been positively made a commitment to split their insertions into the system so that the cheese and the beer people are separate. They talked about it. They have actually said they are flat going to do it.
I don't recall them ever saying they were thinking about it, doing.
Yeah,
What I think what's talked about was that they each wanted to monitor at a point, within their facility before it got joined together with the two facilities.
well, but is that, yeah, that rings a bell, but did they start positively say that we're going to get the data and that it's going to be what we need? That is the net amount of crap that goes into the sewer. And I don't recall hearing those words.
Yeah, I thought they said they would share all whatever data they got with us.
They would.
They would share
all the
whatever
data
data.
they got with us. Well, that's sort of the same thing, but not exactly.
So. Yeah, I'd have to go back and reread what they submitted to us in writing.
Yeah.
But. I think they both talked about monitoring wanting to set up monitoring within their facility.
Yeah. Well, knowing the way legal things going, it ought to be in writing, I would say. That they are going to supply us that data. It seems to me we'll be a little at sea about resetting rates if we don't have that information.
So I agree with you. Ideally, it should be in writing. I'm just not sure at this point in the sort of the process we have going on. If we had brought that up at the last meeting when they presented the plans, that might have been an easier time to.
Yeah, it didn't quite dawn on me.
No, I understand.
But it's not too late.
I guess, Greg, you would need to check with the lawyer about. Because we've said, and the email the lawyer sent says that we have approved their plans.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how easy or hard it is for us to
Yeah, I mean, I'll check to see, I mean, once we get into science stuff, then we can start getting into more of the nitty-gritty details. That they provide us.
And
And their plan's just kind of overall. plan.
Right, it's not the details.
so I don't
Okay.
think this is the final plan.
No.
either. They might not even get the money. You're just.
Well, Well, he said they appeared to be fairly high up in the rankings so far.
Well, that's.
Okay,
If I could interject,
oh, so-
before we leave this subject, I just logged in on my phone to the lab, and I did get the data for a prior test. So their BOD was 2,700, which is the lowest I've ever seen from them. Their previous average was around 19,000. So they brought it down to just below 3,000. Similar with the COD, they were running an average around 39,000. They brought it down to just under 5,000.
Mhm. What's the requirement?
It's like 200 and 400.
Mm.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no like requirement. It's just a matter of the cost. It just increases the cost. It's not like it's a violation.
Mhm.
And hopefully it would keep going down further in the future, because at this point, that change is, what I heard at our last meeting was that Mystic Cheese can't make any changes until they get the money to buy the stainless steel piping and, get FDA to inspect the facility and all that stuff. So the changes would be due at this point to Beard said they were starting to collect materials, and so that would suggest that, this change is all due to Beard. Is that consistent with what you remember?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you catch that bit of humor that they, we're charging them for all of the BOD that goes into the sewer, but some of it's actually going into the beer. I'll have to think about that next time I drink one of their beers.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, but John, I wanted to make sure if you had any questions or comments on this.
No, I have nothing.
Okay, so I guess my first question is, in terms of this process for the ARPA funding, is there anything that we as the WPCA should be doing? Obviously, there was the letter that you wrote that noted that, we supported it, but is there any need for us to attend any of these meetings? Or would that all be just observing and there's no sort of comment?
It's a good question. I will ask to see if
So I guess that would apply both to this committee and
maybe
then
then the council meeting.
the council meeting. And I assume we'll sort of hear the results of the committee. I mean, it has to go to council, so it becomes public.
Yeah,
But maybe you all could help make sure,
Mhm.
that we know about that, but yeah, I guess check on whether,
yeah, if there's any public comment period.
right,
Okay.
for us to show up. In terms of the rate study, I guess, there were questions that you partly addressed in terms of the sort of the formula that, that it really was calculating correctly, but I guess it seems like that maybe there's almost two parts to this. One is what our current formula is and sort of whether that's reasonable, and then the second is whether the rates are, you know, the dollar amounts that come out of things are consistent with what other people are doing.
Yeah, no, we did talk about that a little bit, and they said basically the dollar amounts you're putting in has to equal be a little greater than, you know, your operating costs. You know, I explained to them, you know, a process where we have a tax throughout the whole town for, you know, bonding projects and stuff. They thought that was a great idea. Didn't see a lot of municipalities do that, but they thought that was pretty good. That way you don't have a huge swing in all your operating expenses because you're taking the bond part out of that.
And of course, we have a special, I guess it's not a special case as much as it used to be. It used to be that a lot of the cost was borne by the sub base. And certain things like if it was a regular charge that everybody had to pay, the sub base had to pay it. But if it was a tax, the sub base didn't have to pay it. So that sometimes, I remember saying certain things, certain times we would decide whether to finance something by a tax or a rate change. And, you know, depending whether you want to stick Uncle Sam with some of it.
But they will be looking at that as well.
Yeah.
I guess where maybe another way to put it is just to try to make sure that the scope of what you're doing beyond, you know, what you think is reasonable and necessary, but also double check that the issues that Beard has raised would be answered by whatever they do, just so that, you know, we're able to address those questions.
Yes, we're on solid ground.
Right, right. Okay. All right, so I think that's all I had on that topic. Anything else?
Could I ask a question about the, on the Beard stuff on the study? So do we have the benchmark study that Beard is quoting as, you know, his basis for saying what our fees are too high and that sort of thing? He says that a benchmark study was done by John Mercer. And that's what's driving all this action. But I haven't seen that study. I'm just curious if you guys have or think you should be seeing it. That was described in,
Oh, I
In the-
never-
I have a letter dated September 21st, 2020. Do you have that, Harry?
I have that letter, yes, from John Mercer.
Yeah,
Oh, so maybe that's the study.
I think that's what he's talking about.
That quote is a study.
Well, right, down at the bottom, he said they did a benchmark study. Groton's fees are the highest they've found.
Oh,
And based,
I have not seen that in the study.
and it says, based on the benchmark study, Beard requests a revision to the surcharge formula. If not, we request a rate study. So I'm just curious if anyone has seen what the benchmark study that's causing or started this is, if he had submitted that to anyone. Or if you guys are interested in seeing it.
It's a study
Well-
of public record or what?
It's done by a private consultant, so I imagine all one could do would ask
Ask.
whether they would be willing to share it, but they don't have to.
Well, no, they don't have.
Well, if they're relying on it to expect us to change our behavior, it would seem that would be up to them to provide it so that we can see whether it supports their conclusion.
I totally agree with you, John, but again, at this point, I think we should ask for it, and I don't know whether we ask this guy Mercer or we ask Simoncini if he would ask Mercer for the studies.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Aaron Simoncini and ask him if he can supply it.
Okay, I totally agree with you, John, that, you know.
Well,
but it's a privately funded study, so they don't have to give it to us, but that would not help their case particularly. And I guess that would be useful. Also just from the point of view of. If we did get that, would you want to think about having your rate study people review it?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that we have, any feedback.
Yeah.
Sort of technical
First,
feedback.
various things you said, I get the general idea that the rate study are based primarily on what our expenses are. So just because Illinois does it one way doesn't necessarily mean we need to do it that way.
Okay, so I guess we don't have any new business, or is there any other business, or? So then I think we're done. Somebody want to make,
Well, no,
oh, go ahead.
I would like to raise an issue.
Oh,
John, are you, the next,
not the next meeting, the meeting, the November meeting.
November meeting? It's on election day. You will probably be busy.
That's a reasonable likelihood, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a family obligation. We're gonna be out of town. So I think we need to perhaps postpone the November meeting till maybe a week later.
That sounds okay to me. I don't think
Okay.
I've gotten,
Shall we put that on the agenda for October and just see? My thought is we could either postpone it, or if there's really, not going to be significant business for that meeting, maybe we just wait for the December meeting.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have a better picture on that based on, what you find out about public comment with planning council, et cetera, but we can discuss all that at the October meeting.
Yeah.
And then have a better picture on whether to set a new date for the November meeting or
Okay,
just
good point. Yeah.
cancel it for the December meeting.
Okay.
So, but if you could put it on the agenda, just so we remember to talk about it.
Yeah.
And also hopefully Laura will be here so that, we can all make a decision during them. Thank you. Okay, so anything else? Then,
I move we adjourn.
I move you bang that gavel.
hear what it sounds like.
Not we're official.
Okay, I think we're all in favor of adjourning.
Yeah.
So John.
All right, see you, everybody.
Dave, second.
Good night.
Thank you.